Knock, knock. Who's there? Opportunity to create, grow, and win more big deals. Speaking of big deals, welcome back to part 2 of how to build a current state financial model. I've put a link to part 1 in the description. In that video, I covered why current state financial models are so vitally important to winning and creating and growing big deals. Also, what should go in the current state financial models and the role that assumptions play in any type of financial modeling. It's really good stuff, so make sure to watch it. Last quarter, I worked with a number of sales reps on some very large Cisco Enterprise Agreement deals. And so in this video, I'm going to step through what typically goes into the current state financial model for that type of a sales opportunity. And even though this is going to focus on a Cisco Enterprise Agreement, the concepts and approach I'm using can be used for any other type of enterprise agreement, subscription deal, or SaaS deal. And for the record, the example that I'm walking through is actually a mashup of a number of different deals and things that I've worked on. So I'm not revealing anything that's confidential, but it still is very realistic. So our hypothetical customer has a Cisco EA that they previously bought from us that started on January 1st, 2022, and it's a 5-year term, so it ends on December 31st, 2026. And to keep things simple, we're gonna make our current state financial model start on January 1st, 2025, so that we're dealing in even full years, not partial years. So the first thing we're gonna add to our model is whatever's remaining on the original EA. So it started on January 1st, 2022, and it was for 5 years. And we're gonna assume the total EA price was $3 million, which is $600,000 a year. But remember that we're already 3 years into that term at this point. So there's only 2 years remaining on this, 2025 and 2026. If we look at our financial model, which starts on January 1st, 2025, it correctly shows the remaining 2 years, 2025 and 2026, with $600,000 in each. So far, so good. And if you're wondering what I'm using to build these financial models, it's K2 from Scandera. K2 is purpose-built to help you build these types of financial models and super compelling business cases. You can get K2 for as low as $25 a month, and it will revolutionize your abilities to do everything that I'm talking about and showing. To get K2, click on the link in the description or visit scandera.io. All right, since we sold this original EA, we're also aware that there were 2 true-ups or upgrades that were done. And the first was on January 1st, 2024 for $120,000 per year. The upgrades co-term with the original EA end date of 12/31/2026. So the first true-up would have a term of 3 years. But since our financial model starts on January 1st, 2025, we're only going to see 2 of those 3 years, not all 3 in our financial model. And we've got a second true-up that's starting on January 1st, 2025, also for $120,000 per year. And this second true-up also co-terms with the original EA end date of 12/31/2026. So it's gonna have a term of 2 years. And so in our financial model, we'll see $120,000 in 2025 and $120,000 in 2026. So based on what's happened with these prior true-ups, we talked with our customer and got their feedback on whether they thought there would be another true-up in January of 2026. And they said, yeah, with our growth, we expect that that's probably gonna happen, and it would probably be around the same as the prior one, so $120,000. So we're gonna add that $120,000 as another planned true-up, and we're gonna list in the notes that it's an assumption that we're making there. It's important to list out any assumptions that you make so that it's clear both to you as well as anyone else that's looking at the financial models. All right. This looks pretty good so far. We've got the main costs associated with the original EA built out in our current state financial model. But what happens when that financial model ends on December 31st, 2026? Nothing? That's probably not an option. Go back to buying everything outside of the EA? That would be insanely expensive. Replace all their Cisco solutions? Not likely. They've been growing and adding to their environment. They seem pretty committed. The most likely scenario is that they're going to replace their existing EA with a new EA when the current one ends. And we need to add that to our financial model. But we need to think about what would that future EA look like financially. Cisco's pricing has increased pretty significantly over the past 3 years since the original EA was signed, and they're now about 20% higher. So in all likelihood, in 2 years, the prices are even going to be higher than that. And since they're already 20% higher than they were 3 years ago, it's realistic to think that in another 2 years, they'll probably be 25 to 30% higher than they were originally. So we're going to be conservative and use the lower end of this range and assume that the new EA pricing will be 25% higher than the existing EA pricing 2 years from now. And since the existing EA yearly total at the end of the term with all of the planned true-ups is $960,000, we'll add 25% on top of that, which gets us to $1.2 million per year. So we'll add that replacement EA at $1.2 million per year for 5 years to our current state financial model starting on January 1st, 2027. And since the customer has been doing true-ups annually for the past few years, it's probably a good idea to show true-ups for the future EA as well. Remember, what you're trying to do with the current state financial model is show as closely as possible what realistically could happen. And since the customer's been doing true-ups pretty consistently in the past, that's probably what's going to happen in the future. So we'll assume that the true-ups in the future EA will be the same as what they were in the existing EA, except that there's going to be a 25% price increase on those. So instead of $120,000, those true-ups will be $150,000 per year. So we'll add a true-up expense that starts on January 1st, 2028, and we'll add another one that starts on January 1st, 2029. And both of these will co-term with the new enterprise agreement end date of December 31st, 2031. Voila. So now our current state financial model looks pretty well finished, as it's accurately representing what could very likely happen over the next 5 years. So what do you do with it at this point? I'll tell you what you do with it. Validate it with your customer. Review it with them. Explain it to them. Get their input and feedback on the assumptions that you used. Most often, you'll need to make changes to the current state financial model after you review it with your customer. That's normal. So make those changes and rediscuss it with your customer, and repeat that until your customer is nodding their head in agreement that everything on that current state financial model, they're in complete agreement with. And some of you might be wondering, why would your customer take the time to do this? You're not proposing anything to them, so why would they invest the time to do this? What's in it for them? So most of the biggest deals that I've helped sales reps with over the past few months, especially these like large 7-8-figure deals, have been proactively created. They weren't at the end of the EA term or some other like natural renewal or replacement event. And the customers didn't ask the sales rep to create some deal options for them. The sales reps came up with these all on their own. And besides the sales reps, who of course love large 7- and 8-figure deals, you know who else really loves this? Your customers. You can tell them that you're proactively trying to find ways to help them, to potentially lower their short-term costs or their long-term costs, or provide price predictability, or even give them a big check back and infuse cash back into their business. Plus, you might find ways to simplify their environment or address other non-financial issues they're having, or all the above. But the only way to do this is by understanding and building out the current state financial model and making sure that your customer is in agreement with it. Without that, you don't have a target for what it is that you're actually trying to solve for. Once you've got a customer validated current state financial model, then you can start building out proposed options because you know where you need to be financially. And that's where some real big deal magic starts to happen. Plus, these really big deals, I'm talking the 7-8-figure plus deals, nearly always require the involvement of your sales and finance leadership. And the current state financial model is a vital component to showing and justifying to them what is going on and relative to what you're asking for and what you're proposing. As much as I'd love to show you what those big deal options look like, we are unfortunately out of time in this video. But I promise to cover that in one of the next videos. Hit the subscribe button so you do not miss that video, and subscribing will also help my channel out. Okay, I'll admit that my passion for this topic is a little higher than most people, but if you got a little bit pumped watching this and you can't wait to try some of these things out with your customers, go ahead and please hit that like button. Come on, it only takes a second. Also, click the link in the description below and get your own subscription to K2. I promise you it will be a game changer for you. In the comments, let me know how you're approaching the current state financial model with your deals, or if you have any ideas or questions about anything that I covered today. Thanks for watching. See you soon.